Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Beyond the Gates, Season 2, Episode 66. Now, before we begin, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. Sorry. All right, so we start the episode off with Martin and the family. So Samantha comes downstairs because she can't get into the Wi-Fi. They explain, they say it's password change day or whatever. So they ask her, does she need a password? She knows where she can find it. She goes and she knows where to look, so she finds it under the pot. She doesn't understand why they keep doing that. Martin says it's a tradition, and we find out the reason why they put the password under the pot is because Ted used to forget, so their mom would put it someplace accessible. But then came the second issue. Ted never knew where to look. Whatever. So he likes to keep to tradition or whatever. So as he's saying that, we see Smitty gets an idea. So Smitty gets a call from Jacob, and they like a quick, talk. They still haven't made headway on who the woman is that Grayson is reporting to. So we then see them all, Samantha, Smitty, and Martin are at the dinner table, and Samantha is talking about how she wants to convince June to come to the cotillion. She's saying, like, she's going to meet Nicole at the free clinic because she's going to meet her at the free clinic because that's where she is right now. And then after that, she's going to go to the Orphe Jeans to try to convince June to come to the cotillion. Martin tells her, it can be intimidating. It can be intimidating. So Samantha asks Smitty, how did he do when he first met the family? Initially, he wasn't paying attention, but then they got him to pay attention. So he tells them, he says, my family isn't like the Duprees. We didn't all sit around the table eating dinner, and he was nervous when he first met them. So he researched it. He figured out which fork was which wine glass was which, and he learned the difference so that when it was time for him to meet the Duprees, he would be good. So then when Martin took him there, they went to the backyard, and he found out that they were going to have a crawfish boil. So, he was just like, I came to the backyard, I seen a table that had butcher paper. Rowena came out and dumped out all the crawfish, and the family went to town. And then he says, oh, except for Ted, because, he's allergic or whatever. So he says in that moment he was comfortable, and Martin was just like, yeah, and that's the way Grand and Granddad wanted it. They wanted him to be comfortable. So, they did the crawfish bowl or whatever. So Samantha thanks them for never making her feel like an outsider, and she wants that for June. So then we see Tyrell come running in saying that someone's following him. Smitty wants to call the cops, but Martin tells him no, that's the hired security. Smitty doesn't like this. He was just like, we were supposed to talk about this. He said, I was going to talk to you about it today. Shonda must have jumped the gun and hired them already. That wasn't the plan. So Samantha and Tyrell leave, and then Martin and Smitty discuss it, and Smitty don't want it because he doesn't want his what are they called? I can't think. The person that's his I can't think of what they're called. His connect or his contact or whatever. So that's not what they're called, but you know. So he says he doesn't want to spook them. So Martin was just like, okay, fine, then I'll talk. You won't have a bodyguard unless you're with the family. That's the only time that you'll have a bodyguard, but you'll have to take a panic button. So they agree to that or whatever. So Smitty has to go because he gets a call. So he leaves. We see Malone and we see Jacob. He calls Elon. He tells him he finally, well, I mean, he's been doing it, but we haven't seen it, so this looks like the first time that he's called Elon to give him an update on the case or whatever. So he's telling him about the woman that Grace reports to. He doesn't have a name, but he knows that she's someone that works at the hospital, and that's something that they're going to need to look into it. So Darlene asks how Darlene Jacob asks how Darlene is doing, and he tells him that she's praying for him, and Jacob is happy for that. So then we see Marcel and Elon. They're at the station. Well, this was prior, so they're at the station. They're talking about something else. Leslie comes in and brings donuts for Elon, and she's flirting with him, and she's also flirting with Marcel. Elon tells her they got work to do, and Leslie and Malone can meet up anywhere, preferably not at the station. So he walks away. So Leslie and Marcel are talking, and she calls Marcel rude, just like his wife. Malone agrees. They complain about Darlene and why they don't like her, and Malone is telling Leslie that he wants to take her out to dinner to this fancy place, and she's just like, "Why?" He was just like, "All the clothes that you bought me, I need to make sure that I can wear them to someplace fancy." And I'm just like, "Girl, you buying him clothes? You thirsty for a man at your big ass age? You thirsty for a man like that, girl? You buying clothes for a married man?" So Elon comes back, and he's just like, "Why are you still here?" Again, I'm loving that Darlene and her husband have that smoke for Leslie, because she deserves it. Because, yeah. So she leaves, but of course not before she gets to have the last word, because she always has to have the last word. I don't know if that's written in her contract, but she does. Elon tells Malone what him and Jacob talked about, and Malone is just like, "I'm gonna check. I'll talk to Leah, because they're friends or whatever." And I'm just like, "Good lord, they just messing it all up." So we see Naomi. She meets Darlene at Orphe Jean. She introduces June to Darlene, and June asks about Jacob, and Naomi gives the same spiel. He's on an assign. He's he's in a training, whatever. Naomi says after June leaves, Naomi says she doesn't like lying to the people that she care about and who love her. And I'm just like, yes, you do, because you are lying to your husband and your family about you having the BRCA gene. But whatever. Darlene tells her it's a necessary evil, but she didn't call her down to talk about Jacob. Called her down to talk about Isaiah and Eva. So she wants to get her opinion on Eva. Naomi says she doesn't think about her much. She don't think about her much, but Nicole forgave her, and she is doing a good thing with the clinic. And Ted also hired her, but Leslie's a different story. And it's just like, y'all, like, the fact that Naomi was just like, "Oh, she's doing a good thing with the clinic," when you know that they stole that clinic idea from your niece or whatever she is to you, is annoying. Yeah, that's her niece. Is that her niece or her cousin? Whatever she is, that's her cousin. Yeah, her cousin. She stole that idea, and you're saying, "Oh, Eva's doing a good thing with buying this clinic." So you're falling into the trap of what they're doing. Like, they did this clinic to make themselves look good, and you're falling into that trap. You're just like your dad. Y'all ain't using all y'all brain cells. But I digress. So Darlene says she had a run-in with Leslie, and she tells her about the lunch. Naomi says she can understand why she feels that way about them, but she reminds her that me and you didn't get along when we first met, and maybe she should get Eva the benefit of the doubt. And I'm just like, again, you are working against your cousin, but whatever. Darlene says she's gonna have to, because if she doesn't want, because she may have to give her a second chance, because she doesn't want it to affect her relationship with Isaiah, since they've already spent so much time apart. Darlene hopes that then Darlene wants to apologize to her for Isaiah asking about the burner. Sorry. Darlene wants to she hopes that Naomi can forgive her, and she explains what she told Isaiah. Naomi voices her concern, and Darlene gives her a pep talk about it. And this is who Naomi should have been talking to this whole time regarding Jacob and his undercover work. I get that Ashley is her best friend and all of that, but if your husband is undercover, nobody is supposed to know. So you telling Ashley why? But you talking to his mama, who is part of law enforcement. She's 911. Her husband is a chief of police. She knows what all of this entails. This is who you should have been talking to. This is who could give you the right tools to be able to handle this. But I digress. So they talk about Isaiah again, and Naomi says she needs to also apologize to him. And Art Darlene says, I hope you can talk sense into him about Isaiah, about Eva. And Naomi is just like, she doesn't want to get into that family drama. They laugh and Naomi leaves. And then Darlene has a run in with Leslie. And Leslie threatens her because it's Leslie. And again, she has the last word and she rushes past her and all this other stuff. And I was just like, this is why I don't like Leslie. Like, oh gosh. So we see Naomi, she comes to the hospital to meet Nicole because she has to drop off some documents for Nicole. Sorry. She has to drop off some documents to Nicole. She runs into Ashley. Ashley is gushing over the one rose that Grayson had brought her because he had surprised her with the rose, and he had scared her. She asks about his mama. He says, he says whatever he says about her mama. She says she would love to meet her. He makes up an excuse for why they haven't met. She tells him that she isn't going anywhere and she'll wait as long as he wants. And I'm just like, girl, why are you begging to meet this man's mama? Like, oh God. So we see Jacob. We also see Jacob calling Grayson, and he's asking about the woman, and Grayson doesn't want to tell him anything and hangs up on him. Then that's when we see Naomi come, and Ashley is gushing about the rose, and they go and get coffee or whatever before she drops off the documentation to Nicole. We see Tyrell and Samantha are at Orphe Jeans now, and they are let's see, sorry. Samantha's complaining about her bodyguard being a woman, and she's telling Tyrell her plan on what he's gonna do to talk June into coming. So June comes over to get their order, talk to him or whatever. Tyrell isn't like, he's talking to her, and then Samantha kicks him under the table. So he asked June, and June was just like, did she tell you to do this? And she was just like, no. And she was just like, I already told you. She tells Samantha, I told you I wasn't going, and I meant that. And Samantha blows up on her because she's pissed, because she's just like, girl, why you ain't coming? So we see Isaiah. He is at at Eva's. He tried calling her, but she didn't answer. He went to the job, but she wasn't there. So he wants to know why she lied. She has an attitude. He wants to know what's the deal. She tells him she heard what his mama said, and he didn't take up for her. He tells her he did. He didn't want to make a scene at the club, but he checked her about it, and when they got somewhere private. And of course, because Eva don't know nothing about not making a scene in public because you and your mama are both uncouth, I guess, trifling. Yeah, that's all y'all. That's y'all. Um, she couldn't understand that he wouldn't do that or whatever. So Eva says she doesn't want him to get into it with his mama. He explains what he told Darlene, and that she would be missing out on getting to know Eva. Not really, but okay. He tells her that Darlene didn't like Naomi at first, and Eva feels a little bit better about that. Which again, you set her up because y'all should not have went to the country club or whatever. She also says, yeah, I feel a little she feels a little bit better about the fact that Darlene didn't like Naomi at first, but she didn't call Naomi the spawn of Satan, and it's because Naomi wasn't. You are the spawn of Satan. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody thinks that your mom is Satan. Everybody thinks that your mom is a devil. Nobody likes your mom, and you are a product of her. So yes, you are, by definition, by how these people feel about your mama, the spawn of Satan. I don't know why you hung up on the words. That's how they feel about your mama. So you are her spawn. Like, okay, whatever. He apologizes to her. He tells her, if it's he says this is their relationship and Darlene's opinion doesn't matter. Eva says it does. Eva says, Isaiah has what she's always wanted her whole life. She does the woe is me. I didn't grow up with a daddy. You had family breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Y'all had Sunday game nights. Y'all did all the stuff I didn't get to do, and I don't want to be the reason why you can't do that no more. She tells him if Darlene doesn't like her, then it'll put him in a position where he'll have to choose between his mama and her, and she would never ask him to make that decision. And she's like crying, and I do not like Eva. Y'all know I don't like that girl, but Amber Michelle can act her behind off. She actually had me feeling for her in this moment. But y'all know I don't like Eva. Um, he says the family dinners aren't all that they were, and he couldn't wait to get away from them. He didn't think that he'd ever come back and he'd ever come back to Fairmount Crest, let alone come back and find her. And he's not going to let anyone disrespect her. When I say these people be contradicting themselves, they be contradicting themselves because just the other day or last week or whenever it was, Eva was having a whole conversation about thanking Joey for being there for Isaiah because he didn't have that fatherly figure in his life. And today you are now saying that he had that fatherly figure, family unit that you wanted in your life. So why did you go and thank Joey for doing anything when this man had the life that you wanted? So he tells her, you was smart, you was kind, you was beautiful. And she always admits her mistakes. No, she doesn't. You don't know that girl. You don't know her at all. Like, you don't know her. You keep saying she admits her mistakes. She has yet to admit what she did to Kat. She is still blaming Kat for what she has done, for what she did. Child. So he gives her a gift that he wanted to give to her on her birthday. He had commissioned this lady that they had met at Winterfest, who was working there to make money so that she could create her business. She does jewelry. So he had commissioned her to make a bracelet for Eva, and it has a piece of a napkin that Eva had brought him when he had fell on his behind at the at the Winterfest at the ice skating place. he kept the napkin and or whatever, and so it's weaved into the bracelet or whatever. He says, he says that, I always made the joke that I fell for you at Winterfest, and I actually did or whatever. Um, they have it. He tells her they have an unbreakable bond, and he gonna choose her. She loves it. She puts it on, and she's gonna keep it forever. And then they kiss and whatever. So we see Smitty. He is at the he comes to the hospital. He runs into, what's this lady's name? He runs into Ashley. She tells her why he's there. He's looking for Nicole to give her something for cotillion. So he goes to her office and he is snooping through her things. He tries to get on her computer. He can't get on it. He finds a password on a figurine that she taped it to. He logs in, gets into the employee database, and he takes a picture of all the employees that work in the lab with Grayson. So he thinks he's found the person that Grayson reports to. So as he's doing that, Nicole is I mean, not Nicole, but Naomi's coming, and he hurries up and closes the door, and Naomi comes in and is just like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And that's how, what are you doing? And that's how the episode ends. So this was another cute episode. Yeah, Leslie and Eva still irksome, especially Leslie. I'll say although I think that Eva is she was, I will say before, she was worse than her mom because she always played the victim act. At least Leslie was in your face with it. I don't mind her now that she's not really in Kat's orbit and she's not throwing herself at Tomas. I don't mind her as much as I do her mom, because Leslie is a character that I really, really dislike. I don't want to say I hate her, although I have said that on Twitter a couple of times. I don't want to say that about her because I don't want to hate any of the characters on this show, but they are slowly moving her in that direction. And I don't want to get to the place where I fast forward all her scenes, especially since I'm reviewing it for you guys. But Leslie's scenes aren't enjoyable to me. The only time that they're enjoyable is when someone is getting in her behind, because she always gets to have the last word, even when someone is getting in her behind. It's annoying. Leslie is just annoying. They really she needs to get caught, and she needs to be sent away for a good 3 to 6 months. Just give us a break from her. Let Eva find her own fitting without her mama. Like, but yeah, it was still a good episode. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. Get down in the comments. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.